Evening, everyone. Thank you very much for coming back again. Welcome to my Game Week 26 review and Game Week 27 preview. Before we get started, let me know in the comments what your Game Week 26 score was. So let me know your Game Week 26 score, whether you're pleased with it, anything you want to know going into Game Week 27. So while you're doing that, just to remind you of my stream sponsor, Fantasy Football Factory. The code FFF 10% FPLTIPZ will get you 10% off as always and a free pen on every single order you make. The website link is there for you. www.fantasyfootballfactory.co.uk. They ship worldwide. If you message them on Twitter, they also do personalised presents as well for your mini leagues or for your friends or whatever. They do great stuff, so go and check them out. So let's get into it. So we'll start by, I'll just give you a quick review of how my team performed and we'll get into it. So I scored 75 with a -4 point hit. So 71 net score. I brought in Son and Mane for Richarlison and Sane. So including the -4, I scored 8 points more because with that. So I'm very pleased with those transfers. So they worked out well. As my team goes, you can see my midfield, incredible. My midfield scored 65 or 64 of my 75 points. The other 6 players managed 11 points combined. That's not even 2 each, which is poor. I'm lucky that some of my midfielders performed quite as well as they did. Sterling especially, very surprising. Son, Mane both getting a goal. Salah a goal. Pogba 2 goals. Sterling 2 goals and an assist. And 2 bonus points for Sterling and 3 for Pogba. So it is a green arrow. As you can see, my overall rank is now green. So it's gone up from last week. A rise of about 5k from 75k down to up to 70k. So quite pleased with that. Quite happy with how the week went. I mean, the rest of my team not particularly pleased with. Doherty, Jimenez slightly disappointing at home to Newcastle, but and then the West Ham Crystal Palace game 1-1, again unfortunate. Trent Alexander-Arnold would have had a clean sheet, but only came on as a substitute. These things happen. And then Rashford not starting. So there are positives and negatives from this week. I think I was quite fortunate. A lot of you had Rashford and Aubameyang in your team, so not to have both of them was quite fortunate. One of my friends had Rashford captain, Aubameyang vice captain, so ended up with nothing doubled this week, which is slightly unfortunate. But yeah, a 71 net score after my hit. Pleased with only my 3rd hit of the season. So, I can't really complain about that. Mane is a good option. And Son is a good option. If I show you now my team for next week, where is it? Next week's team. This is how I am now. I have the ability to. Not make a transfer. I have 11 players technically for Game Week 27 for the blank week, and I'll get into blank Game Week in a minute. And I'll get into my team for next week in a minute. We'll just go through how you guys have performed. So Clement, 85 with a -4, 81 net. You would have had a nice green arrow. That's really well done. Supersport 50, you sold Sterling for Aubameyang. That's unfortunate, but I can see you can't regret doing that move with a Huddersfield game versus a Chelsea game. And that will serve you well, especially in the next 2 weeks having Aubameyang. 64 points, all red arrows. 64 kind of got you a very big red arrow. But you had some good players in there, so nothing to be too saddened by, Michael. So stick with that. A good, still respectable score. Lyle, 76 points scored. Who to replace injured Ings with or banned Holobas for next game week? Have 10 players at the moment. So straight away I'd be looking at Ings to Rondon. Rondon does look like a good option at the moment, especially with their easy fixture in 27. I'm pretty sure they have Huddersfield at home. So he has the ability to be a real differential going into that game week 27. Very few people have him. So I'm just getting up the fixtures for next week. So they have Huddersfield at home. So Rondon I'd be looking at in for Ings. Keep Holobas. He does perform well. He's suspended, but these things happen. Colin Etheridge, how unlucky. Very, very unlucky. You could have been on for a monster score with them. But you can't complain with 85. What am I planning to do with Kamara? I have him watching your bench as well. Big upgrade. Barnes, Solanke. Although I bought Ozil in, I managed to get 73. Thanks for my decent ench. I don't know exactly what you mean. Yeah, 73 is a good score, really good score. How am I planning to use my chips? Sorry, I'll get to that. From 420k to 200k with, an average of 85 across the 2 weeks. That's really good scores. Well done, Ibim. Thanks to your bench. Yeah. So how am I planning on using my chips? So currently I'm going to plan for 31 and 33, free hit 32, and then triple captain or bench boost in 35, and then play triple captain or bench boost the other one in a single game week, or if we get a double game week, but another double game week. But with the way Chelsea are performing, I doubt that's going to happen. So I don't think that's something we need to really worry about or think about at the moment. But I think I will make my decision on my final chip strategy once we've got the round draws for the next round of the for the cup. Because if we end up getting a Man City versus Man U draw against each other or something big like that, then it will be. If we end up getting another double game week, then I'll want to play it in there. But once we have more about the cup, then I'll need to know whether I want to actually free hit in 31, because that will be the only real big blank game week. Brighton double game week confirmed for game week 38. That hasn't been confirmed yet, Clement. No, that hasn't been confirmed. That Chelsea game is yet to be confirmed. And I doubt we'd have a double game week 38. I doubt that would happen. But we'll see. We don't know when that fixture. It'll probably go into one of 35 or 37, or 32 or 37 when Chelsea get knocked out by Man U, which seems quite likely at the moment. Is it worth keeping Hosbach suspended for 2 games then as Man City? If that's the situation, then potentially not. They do have that. He's suspended for 2 games? Okay. He's suspended for 2 games. Oh, yeah, because he's had 10 yellow cards. Then probably not. Then it would be worth shipping him out. Then it would be worth looking to ship him out. Again, we'll be getting to who I look to bringing in at the moment. If I check Brighton fixtures, it features there. Let me just have a look at that, Clement. I'm sure it hasn't been moved. They just stick it there because it hasn't been rescheduled. He's talking about this here. The Chelsea game has been put at the bottom underneath 38. They just put it there because it's not in one of the game weeks above. It hasn't been rescheduled. Ings could be playing this week. He could, but he has Arsenal, so that's a tough one. Holobas, I didn't realise that he has those fixtures, so maybe Holobas is one looking to get out. And I will be talking about who. There were a lot of talk on Twitter about who to get in the defence. Looking forward to those double game weeks because we've only got one transfer ahead of 27, 28, 29, 30. We've got 5 transfers now before the first big blank game week. So we do really need to be thinking ahead to that time now. So just to talk about Man City again, I mean, they came in, sadly, as a Chelsea fan, I know, you can all laugh at me in the chat, losing 6-0 at the weekend. It was a dreadful performance from us, and they were great. And Sterling did well. I mean, we were 5-0 down, and then Sterling scored again. And I found myself being pleased that we conceded the 6th because it was Sterling. And he actually ended up scoring more points than Aguero. Although Aguero's getting a lot of the transfers in and a lot of the attention, Sterling outscored him this week by 1 point, but he still did. 100,000 players or something have transferred in Aguero this week, which is just ludicrous. I understand that some of you might be getting priced out, so you need to make that transfer, but he's going to be benched for this game week. He's going to be benched this week. I just wouldn't be bringing in any Man City players. They've got 3 good fixtures after that, but I still think it's crazy. Sterling is a great option. For me, Sterling gets put in the bracket almost with Aguero. In terms of can he be rotated. So he is a really good option, and I quite like him because he gets the extra point for a goal, a clean sheet point as well. Those little things do tend to add up, and that's how he ended up outscoring Aguero this week. Is Bernardo Silva a good option? He does seem to be playing on the right wing, although he doesn't seem to be getting returns. Playing at centre mid, he seems to be returning more points than he is at the moment. So for me, Bernardo Silva is not an option. I think there are better options at his price at the lower end. I think Sterling or Aguero are the ones to look at. I really do. One of those two. I think De Bruyne has a haul incoming. He looks great, but he isn't one that I'd be bringing in. He's not consistent enough with points. So Sterling or Aguero, don't try and second guess and go for your David Silvas or your Bernardo Silvas to try and cover those points. They just are not going to do that when City get going. When Sterling and Aguero get going, they're going to really, really outscore the rest of them. So, so we'll get into who to invest in for the game weeks coming up, and especially in terms of the double game weeks. Now, a lot of you are looking at the likes of Leicester and Leicester in their defence, because these are Leicester's fixtures. A lot of greens, especially including Burnley and Huddersfield in game week 31 and 33, the blanks, and they do not blank in either of those game weeks. Now, there is a lot of talk on Twitter about where in this Leicester team we should be investing. And at the moment, I think there's 4 players I would look to buy. One is not a defender, only one, and that is Demarai Gray. Now, he played at striker, and I don't think that's the position he will continue to play in. But when he drops Vardy, he seems to want to play Demarai Gray up there. I will not be buying Vardy. I just wouldn't. 9 million on a player who he doesn't want to play is just too much for me. I know he scored at the weekend, but for me, he's not one I'm looking at. Demarai Gray, and then with Albrighton being injured, Demarai Gray really is a good option, I think. And I might be getting him in, but I'd be getting him in much closer to that double game week time. So, and then I look at the defence. And to be honest, actually, all 3 of their defenders are options. So, Evans at 4.8 is the least option. He is slightly cheaper. Evans is slightly cheaper. You save 0.2 on any of the other defenders, but I'd try and get that 0.2. I don't think Evans offers nearly enough. Then the others are Chilwell at 5, Pereira 5.3, and then someone I think is being overlooked is Harry Maguire at 5.4. Just 0.1 more than Pereira. And we know what he can do going forward at corners. We know how powerful he can be and that he can step up with goals. So he has goals in him from corners. He does. If I had to pick one, and the one I think I will probably go with is Pereira, Just his positioning, he's always so far forward. He got an assist at the weekend. He loves getting forward. He loves putting those crosses in. He seems to link up well with his team. So for me, thoughts on Chilwell versus Pereira. Pereira is worth the 0.3 over it for me. If you can't afford him, then Chilwell is still a great option. And he does get attacking returns. But for me, the ordering goes Pereira and then Maguire or Chilwell. If you want a differential, Maguire is a great one. And I think he has a goal coming in him. He does look great from set pieces. So I think he is one that's being overlooked. I really do. The next one is Newcastle. Newcastle play Bournemouth in 31. And they play Crystal Palace in 33, who are still in the cup. But they've still got to win 2 more matches or 3 more matches here. No, 2 more matches. This game and then the next one to get into that blank in 33. So again, Newcastle players are worth waiting on to see what happens in the 5th round cup draw. And this is why I haven't made any transfers yet this week. Because if Newcastle don't blank in 33, are unlikely to, because Crystal Palace lose this weekend or they get a really hard draw like United or Chelsea or City in the next round, then I would look to bring in Rondon for Kamara this week. And I have the money in the bank to do that. But if he's going to blank in 33, then I'm not going to want to play him. I want to play him this week, home to Huddersfield, and in 31. But between then, maybe 28 at home to home to Burnley in 28. But I'm not really going to want to play him. So then I'd be looking to bringing in Pereira or someone like that for Fernandes and playing them in defence and benching Alexander-Arnold or Taylor. Probably Taylor. This is going to be a low-scoring week. I'm sure it is. Everyone's got a lot of Liverpool players and a lot of Man U players, and they play each other in the blank game week. We can't even rely on them. It's not like Salah and everyone goes to home to Bournemouth and United have Fulham like they did last week. They've got tough fixtures when we need them to be scoring big to hold us in the position that we want to be. So I wouldn't worry about this week too much. Don't go tearing your teams up to field 11 players. Because people who go and take -8s this week to get in players for this week tend to be you'll be bringing in players that you don't really want. Let's be honest, you'll be bringing in players like a couple of Newcastle players, a couple of Fulham players, a couple of maybe another Wolves player, which isn't a bad thing, a West Ham player here and there. It's just not, for me, I wouldn't be tearing my team up. I'm fortunate enough that I have a strong position at the moment in terms of players playing that I don't need to. But I'd rather play with 10 players and take a -4 to get another player in that I'm not really going to want. Or take a I'd rather play Taylor than spend a -8 bringing in someone else. You're bringing in Chilwell and Eriksen, good options because they're the type of players that you'll want long term. And they are good picks to have. So yeah, they are good picks. But what I'm saying is, don't bring in a Newcastle midfielder for a week for a -4 to then sell him again, because that's not going to be worth it. Just think about the points hits you're taking. The next one people have been talking about and wanted me to talk about is West Ham. Now they have Fulham at home this week, which is great, but then they travel away to Man City. They have a fixture in 31. Which is good, but 33 they play Chelsea. And whether they blank or not, an away fixture against Chelsea, even if they don't blank, isn't a good fixture at all. Okay, brilliant, you can field 11 players, but if you've got 2 of them going away to Chelsea, it's not the best, is it? So for the next 5 runs, if you're looking for a cheap midfielder, Felipe Anderson does look great. He's still looking like he's getting into great positions, and Fabianski. I'm glad I've got him. They do play Huddersfield in 31 at home, so that is good for them. So West Ham short term are great, but don't be bringing them in with blanks and doubles in mind. I suppose because they don't blank in 31, so they won't double in 32. it means their 33 game against Chelsea, they'll have Chelsea and Leicester in a double game week 35, which isn't great. So they're good options, they are, and they have some great fixtures coming up, especially over the next 6 game weeks. But that ends at 32, and then they're in a rough period. So I would be looking at them. Fabianski is a great option, and Felipe Anderson, and maybe whoever they're playing up front at the moment. But they don't score that many goals at the moment, so I would be cautious, especially up front. Fabianski makes a lot of saves, so he is a great option. But Felipe Anderson isn't one for me. He just doesn't seem to return enough. He plays well, but he doesn't have the FPL returns in him at the moment for me. Okay. Next, Crystal Palace is one to look at because they do have all right fixtures, but they are still in the cup is the only thing. And again, a lot of this revolves around waiting to see what happens in the cup and who people get drawn against. Because then we'll know who's more likely or less likely to blank in those game weeks, and then you'll want to bring in players who aren't going to blank. That's just straightforward. Because Crystal Palace, if they blank in 31, that's fine because they have Spurs away. You're not really going to want to play them anyway. But if they're not going to blank in 33, they've got Newcastle away, and that is a great fixture. But if you've got any more questions, so I've rambled on a little bit there. Have you got any questions about the doubles and blanks? It's much better if I answer your questions than trying to go through everything. So you guys let me know if you've got any questions on doubles or blanks. While I just keep talking, here is today's hashtag. You know the drill. Tweet it out. Screenshot of your team and money in the bank or any transfers or anything, and I will let you know my plans, or not my plans, but anything that I would suggest from you. And while you do that, I will just tweet this out one more time. But yeah, anything on the doubles and blanks, a lot of talk about it on Twitter at the moment. So it's tough, and performing well in them is big, but it isn't the be all and end all. You can get away with low scores in that, but knowing how to prep for them is definitely key. Right, so yeah, guys, go tweeting out your teams. Am I looking forward to the FA Cup? As a Chelsea fan playing against Manchester United, not really, the way we're playing. So, I am, because it is a big week for FPL. There are some good games on, and I think we might see some upsets. And I do enjoy FA Cup weeks. It's sad to have a week off FPL, but it gives everyone a bit of time to do some more analysis, a bit more prep that we haven't really had time for. I've been very busy past couple of weeks, and I am always going to be busy now. It's a lot of busy time at uni. I've got a lot of work on in my final year. So having a couple of weeks to prep now is going to be really helpful for me. So yeah, I am looking forward to it, but I'm also looking forward to necessarily having a week off. So, captaincy picks for this game week, and you're going to be struggling if you don't own Son or Aubameyang. I have to be honest. The three that I would go with, maybe four: Son, Aubameyang, and then Jimenez and Jota. Jota, if you don't have Jimenez, but Jimenez I feel is a better option. I think Bournemouth too tend to concede a lot of goals. They are being better recently, but still they do. So if you don't have Son or Aubameyang and you're struggling, do look at the Wolves guys. I do think there's points in them this week. And there's always going to be goals in that Man U Liverpool game. There will be goals, but I don't think I'd want to be captaining them. Son, Burnley away. I can see Son's first blank in a few game weeks coming, but it has to be Son for me in the way he's playing. If I had Aubameyang, it would be Aubameyang. Aubameyang would be my number one captain, and I think people with him will be scoring well this week. I think that will be a key to find out on whether you have a good or bad game week. Aubameyang. Would I bring him in for Aguero this week and I sell him again next week? Quite potentially if you're going to captain him. I said no last time, but I really think he's going to be a rank decider this week. So, yeah, I mean, there aren't that many this week. It's going to be quite basic. It's going to be how you've managed to plan ahead. I think is more how people are going to be defined. Normally, there are a few captaincy options. Who do you pick? Does well for you or badly? I think there'll be a lot of similar captaincy picks, and it'll be, if one of them bangs, great, but it'll be more about who else you've got in your team. And there'll be some surprise scorers, I think, this week. But yeah, make sure you've tweeted that out, guys. So we'll get into you'd lose 0.2. You would. You'd lose 0.2. I mean, that's a tough one. And Aguero is rising rapidly. So if it's a money thing and you're going to be tight for money, then obviously it's not worth it. But if money wasn't a thing, of course, it would be a worthwhile transfer. But then if you're taking a transfer to get him out and to get him back in again, that's 2 transfers. So that's effectively a -8. Aubameyang has to score, over 8 points, but then you might be having someone off your bench. So over, let's say, 9 points for that to be worthwhile. So this is why I didn't advise people getting Aguero in for the double game week, because he had to go and score that many more if you're bringing him in and instantly selling him again. So this is why it's tough, because you don't just want to bring in a player and then even if he scores once, that's 8 points. You are no better off than keeping Aguero and him scoring 0, because you'll then sell him again, Aubameyang, to get Aguero back when he starts playing again. So this is why I'm always against hits, especially bringing in lots of players for double game weeks who then just want to sell again, because it's a -4 every time effectively. Your thoughts on Dendoncker versus McNeil? Dendoncker has looked good, but I think McNeil is a good one to have in your team. Presumably they're not going to be playing for you. Now McNeil doesn't blank in 31 and 33, so that would be throwing me over the edge to go McNeil. That would be why I went McNeil. Display capture, right. Order, move to top. So let's do this. Let me just check that this is all working. Because once I swipe, I then can't see the screen unless I go on my phone. So I will just check that this is. You can see this. Yep. I can't move this any further that way. So here we go. I will just click the refresh button here. Tipster comes from Tip Sterling, if anyone is interested, but probably not. You posted a picture of me. So what have you said? 0.1 in the bank for game week 28, looking to get Sterling for Mane. Downgrade Trippier to Montoya or Tompkins when fit. Right. Sterling in for Mane is an interesting one. Mane is performing well and doesn't blank in either blank game week. It seems strange to me that you are wanting to ditch Mane. You don't need Sterling and Aguero. You just don't. I wouldn't be bringing in Sterling for Mane, because then when you bring him in for game week 28. You bring him in for game week 28. Great. He has game week 28, 29, 30. Then you've got to sell him again. You have 3 weeks. Okay, he might outscore him a little bit, but -4 to minus in and -4 out, 2 transfers. He's got to outscore him across 8 across 3 game weeks. When Liverpool play Watford at home, Everton away, Burnley at home. So again, it's not something that I would do. I'm fortunate enough to have both, and you have Aguero in your team, so I would not be making that transfer. And I personally think to Liverpool, the Premier League is more important to them. They will not risk losing a Premier League game, Liverpool. I really think they would much rather win the Prem than the Champions League this year. So, what would I say? Not putting one in the bank. Yeah, I mean, you're quite set, to be honest. You can just bank your transfer. You've got a great team for this week. Congratulations. You should have a good game week this week. Would I bring in Aguero here? Looking at your team, Aubameyang here? No, I wouldn't. The loss of money wouldn't be worth it for that team for having to bench one of them. You're quite set for this week. Lyle, here we go. 1.4 million in the bank. Okay, I mean, you have just about a strong team. I'd sell Sane, to be honest, here, Lyle, because Sane isn't playing at all. There are great options. So like Mane, if you could bring him in Mane this week. Holebas isn't going to play, so Sane out to Mane. Okay, as Manu, but he's dropping like a stone in value. You need to sell him soon. So Sane, even if you could do Sane to Sterling and downgrade Holebas. That is something that you could consider, or downgrade Keane even. So that is one to consider, but Sane needs to go out of this team. Sterling has a much higher point ceiling, true, than Mane, but if you don't own Sterling already, it's not worth the switch. No, that's what I'm saying, Elite. It's not worth the switch, in my opinion. And especially as he has Aguero in his team. It's not like he has no Man City cover. Personally, I'm benching both Sterling and Aguero this next game week. Good luck with that. Most money ever left on a bench, but that's completely understandable. I decided on Aguero or Danilo to Pereira. Thoughts? I'd do Danilo to Pereira if I'm honest. Keep that Aguero for the upcoming games. I imagine he does well. So yeah. They play Champions League next week, but you'll have a rest in the Cup. They've got Champions League at the moment, but you can have a rest in the Cup. They've got an easy fixtures, so I wouldn't sell him. I imagine him to start the next Premier League game. So I would keep it as is. So guys, no one else? That's absolutely fine. If someone does post their team, I will go back to it. Is Louise worth keeping with Chelsea's form? No. Blank. Blank, and then they play Spurs. Sorry. Where do I post it? So if you tweet it out, Elite, on Twitter with the hashtag tipster with hashtag tipster like that, with that hashtag, I will then see it. Jason always making moves. Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't be keeping Louise. So now I want to go through, and I just want to talk a little bit about each of the games that we've got coming up this week. So let's go to fixtures and results while Elite, and I'll go back and I'll have a look at your team. So just let me know when you've tweeted it out. Yeah, just a screenshot like the others. And any money in the bank, and any transfer ideas or anything you've got. So Cardiff Watford. A lot of you will be playing Etheridge this week, I imagine. Watford have looked solid. I imagine there'll be few goals in this game. 1-0 either way. I think few goals in this game. West Ham, Fulham. Fulham have looked good and Fulham have looked dangerous. And West Ham seem incapable of keeping a clean sheet. So I reckon both teams will score in this game. Probably a West Ham win. I would imagine a West Ham win. Burnley, solid. We know what they did last time they played. So I imagine they'll make it difficult for Spurs. I really do. 1-0 or 2-0. to Spurs, even though Burnley have looked going forward. So I will go with maybe Spurs drop points. Their first draw of the season, 1-1. Bournemouth Wolves, an interesting game here. Wolves have looked average on Monday night. I expect them to bounce back. I'm going to go with a 3-2 win to Wolves. Newcastle Huddersfield, not the most exciting game. Probably a Newcastle 1-0 win or something like that. Leicester Palace, this could go many different ways. I expect Leicester to probably come out big this game. Maybe a 1 or 2, 1-0, 2-1 sort of game there. Arsenal Southampton, a big win for Arsenal, big bounce back. Not a bounce back, they won at the weekend, but a big win for Arsenal. Maybe 3-0. United Liverpool, an interesting one. I think United beat Spurs, they did, but I think Liverpool will be so up for this. I'm going to go with a 3-1 Liverpool win. Surprising, maybe. So if he's tweeted that out, I will go and yeah, you have, right. So let me just get this back up for you, Elite, and I will move to top. There we go. So this is your team. Wow, that bench. I can already see it if this ever wants to load. Oh, okay. Thanks, Elite. I mean, my Wi-Fi, whenever I start to stream, it uses up about all the internet we've got. So I mean, your bench, I'm pretty sure, midfielder, defender, forward, I'm pretty sure it's Sterling, you said. If you can tell me who they are, I can see everyone apart from, I presume it's Sterling, Danilo, Aguero, I think you said. It's not loading, so we'll just have to do it like this. Stream strength looks alright, but anyway, Fabianski, your team looks alright this week. Yes, I would sell Danilo. Bring in Pereira and start him. Potentially, I'd start him over Trent because you've got a lot of those Man U players you wanting to score. So start him over Trent. Trent first sub. Hope Kika Firmino plays, but that's what I'd be going with. Yeah, that would probably be my move. Right, so yeah, guys. I will be streaming again, as you can see, next Tuesday as well. Once we've got a bit more information, we'll have all the information from the cup. We'll have the next round draw as well. We'll have everything. So next week, Tuesday, will be a big stream. Yeah, Captain Pogba could be interesting. And he is one, when he has his double game weeks, to consider with a triple captain. He really is, especially on penalties. But yeah, next week will be a big stream. So make sure you come here next week. This time, Tuesday the 19th, as you see there, 7 p.m. We'll have a lot more news on the doubles and blanks. So I'll be talking about them a lot, discussing my plans, and I'll have my finalised plans on what I want to do, because we'll know what's going to happen in 33. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed the stream. Of course, if you've got any final questions, just put them in the chat down below. But yeah, so I hope you guys have enjoyed the stream. If you've got any questions over the weeks or anything, always message me on Twitter. I'll do my best to reply, or on Instagram or on YouTube in the comments down below. So yeah, as always, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button down below. Comment, subscribe, like, tell your friends, anything to support the stream. It's really appreciated. So yeah, guys, I hope you have a good weekend. If you're Man U, I'm sure we'll be in for a good game tonight. I hope you enjoy that. I will be watching. But yeah, message me on Twitter. I hope you have a good week and enjoy the FA Cup, and I'll see you next week for my FA Cup blank game weeks type fixture stream next Tuesday. But I look forward to seeing you all then. Thanks, guys. Bye.